Hi, everybody. We're just going to let everyone get into the room. Ooh. Okay, well, just to get started, hi everyone. My name is Fanola Fabon, and I am the Associate Director of the First Year Experience in Orientation and Transition Program. So we're really excited that you were able to join us this evening for our first of our Wednesday webinars with our friends in Housing and Residence Life. Before we get started, just a few general reminders or things to keep your eyes on is that all of you should begin getting access to our new student portal. And in that portal, it's going to have a lot of pre-semester tasks that are important for you to look at and follow and complete just prior to attending school. So make sure that you're doing that because that's going to be your key to being ready to go for the first day of class. The other thing for you to know is that as a UVA student, you should be checking your UVA email regularly. There's a lot of communication that's coming from our office and other offices at UVA to your email. So just make sure that you keep an eye on that inbox and that will get you set up. Other than that, our office remains available to you for any questions you have, and you can reach us at orientation@virginia.edu. So recordings of this webinar will be available on our website after the program has finished. So know that you're able to watch that and review that again later. If you have a question today, as our presenters present, you'll be able to fill that out in the little Q&A section that you'll see below on your page. But if there's any question that isn't able to be answered by our presenters today, or something comes up later, know that you can email us and we'll get you connected with them. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to our friends in Housing and Residence Life, who's going to talk with you about the residential experience.
Good evening. Welcome to the residential experience. We are excited to share with you a little bit about living on grounds at UVA. My name is Dr. Shylin Scott, and I'm the Associate Dean of Students and Director of Residence Life. I actually did my undergrad work at UVA, and I'm so excited to be back on grounds. I'm approaching my 2-year anniversary with Housing and Residence Life.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica Humphreys, and I'm the Director of Information Technology and Assignments here in Housing and Residence Life. I got my master's degree here at UVA, and I've been working here in Housing and Residence Life for 20 years.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brooke Vostein. I've been here a year and a half, and I am a Residence Life Program Coordinator and Case Manager.
Next slide, please. In today's webinar, we will touch on various aspects of UVA housing and residence life, how we can create the residential experience for our students, and we'll cover our department's mission, the residential experience, advice for students, parents, families, and supporters. Next slide. How to reach us, and many other informative topics. Next slide. Housing and Residence Life mission is to work collaboratively to create open, welcoming communities on grounds for students at the University of Virginia. Residents are empowered to engage their potentials as scholars and leaders through self-governance and participation in activities and leadership programs. We have a team of professional staff located in Gibbons House, which provides support and assistance to all residential students. Residence Life Our professional staff guides the resident staff program and are available to all students who have questions, aren't sure where else to go, or want advice on how to get involved within their residential community. These staff are the staff that residential students will most connect with. We also have a front desk team, assignments, facilities, finance, summer conferences, IT, marketing, and communication staff that provide all of the background functions that make our residential program successful. Next slide. A primary goal of the residential experience is to allow students to live and learn together in their community. This will help prepare students to live and lead in a globally connected world, which is a key initiative in President Ryan's strategic plan for the university, known as the 2030 Plan. Next slide. The residential experience creates opportunities for every new student to receive the appropriate guidance and resource necessary for successful transition to university life. Right from the beginning, living in the residence halls gives students a shared experience, an identity based on where they live. This identity creates a lasting connection to the university even after students graduate. Next slide. A thriving residential community contributes to each student's sense of belonging at the university. Through interaction with their peers and resident staff, students should feel included, cared for, respected, and valued within their residence hall environment. The community where they live also serves as the foundation for students to connect with others, build relationship, and practice leadership skills and self-governance.
Next slide. All students living on grounds have a resident advisor or an RA who will be there to support them throughout the year. An RA is an older undergraduate student who lives alongside residents and serves as a resource to them throughout their year. The RA will either be on the student's hall, in their suite, or in a suite nearby. We have several signature programs that include the Residential Leadership Experience, which are the various hall councils for students to help lead their community, Professor's Picks, which is where various professors select a book, a movie, a podcast, or an article that groups of students discuss with the professor. We also have the Last Lecture series, which is where veteran faculty or deans share their wisdom with the university community as kind of their thoughts of what their final lecture would be. Each first-year residential community also has the opportunity to gather together for dinner in the rotunda for what we call a dome room dinner throughout the year. Next slide. Most first-year students in the College of Arts and Science are assigned an academic advisor based on where they live. Transfer students, student athletes, ECHL scholars, veterans, and visiting international students have dedicated advising deans. The academic advisor or academic staff in the other schools provide academic guidance and advising until a student transitions into their major. In selected first-year and second-year buildings, we have the Who's at Home program, which is an academic component of the residential experience. Students in these buildings will have the opportunities to participate in academic programming and to engage with faculty, academic advisors, and career services within their community.
All first-year students are required to live on grounds and are guaranteed housing. Incoming first-year students are assigned to first-year only areas, or they can apply to any of 3 residential colleges. And as an aside, one good thing to know about residential colleges is that they stay open during winter break. So if you're a student who's not planning to go home during winter break, it's a good idea to think about applying there. The residential colleges have a separate application that can be found on the housing application in the housing portal. Within the first-year only areas, students can opt into the scholars community if they're an Eccles or Rodman scholar, or they can opt into mixed gender housing on the housing application. Please keep in mind we are not able to accept preferences for hall style or suite style housing or for a specific building or residence area, as those will be randomly assigned. Next slide. Before you can have the residential experience, you need to make sure you know the important application dates. The application is currently available, and hopefully you already knew that. The deadline is June 1st at 11:59 p.m., and that's US Eastern Time. So you have time before that to edit your application and think about whether you want to opt into a special community. Any medical needs for housing should be documented with the Student Disability Access Center, or SDAC, by June 1st as well. We encourage students to elect to be assigned a roommate and not request a specific roommate. This is a great way to meet someone new in your class. If you do want to request a specific roommate, the roommate preferences phase of the application will happen from June 9th until noon on June 13th. Check your UVA email in early June for an email that will detail this phase of the process. And then room assignments, the big day, are scheduled to be posted near the end of June, June 27th. Next slide. For transfer students, we have upper class housing options. But please keep in mind, housing is not guaranteed for incoming transfer or upper class students. So that's second, third, and fourth year students. But we do encourage students to apply. The deadline for incoming transfer students to apply is also June 1st at 11:59 p.m. On the housing application for transfer students, you'll rank your preferred residence areas, which may include apartment style areas, hall style areas, residential colleges, and also language houses. After the June 1st application deadline, we have a random computer-generated process that determines the order in which applicants receive offers. So it's not first come, first served. But if all spaces are assigned, we'll maintain a wait list and we'll continue to make offers as we receive cancellations throughout the summer. Next slide.
Going back to roommates real quick, for many students, this may be the first time you are sharing a room with someone. Learning to live with a roommate is an important part of your first year at UVA. We believe the key to a successful living situation is open and honest communication, not just when you first meet, but also from day to day as you learn to resolve the inevitable differences that surface when two or more people live together. You don't need to be friends for life, but showing consideration and fairness goes a long way, and it's crucial to build mutual respect. All residents will complete a written roommate agreement during their very first month after moving in. Roommate agreements are a crucial part of building a strong residential community. They supply students with an opportunity to clearly communicate their needs and expectations and can help prevent major conflicts that emerge later on in the semester. When conflicts do arise, RAs will be the one to serve as mediators and help students find solutions. Next slide. Our student and professional team work closely with orientation and transition programs and welcoming new students to UVA. In August, each RA will reach out to their community and welcome their new residents and introduce themselves, and they will help them through that initial move-in and the first few weeks of the semester. The residential experience begins in earnest as we approach August move-in. As students arrive on grounds, RAs will be around on all the floors, in their suites, and meet residents and answer questions. RAs will hold floor meetings shortly after their community moves in. After moving in, Wahoo Welcome is a university-wide program during the first weeks of the semester that helps to prepare all students for life at UVA and acclimate to grounds. Next slide.
First year move-in days will be on Thursday, August 21st and Friday, August 22nd. Each building is assigned one of these 2 days, so you'll find out your move-in day along with your housing assignment in late June. To help manage the traffic flow on those move-in days, each student will be assigned a specific 2-hour appointment for their arrival on their move-in day. So that's the time when they need to arrive, but they don't have to move in within a 2-hour window. Students attending orientation session K will be approved for an early arrival, and they move in on Tuesday, August 19th. Next slide. Transfer students attending orientation session K will also be approved for an early arrival and move in on Tuesday, August 19th. All other transfer students will move in on Saturday, August 23rd. And again, to help manage the traffic flow on Saturday, each transfer student will be assigned a specific 2-hour appointment for their arrival. Next slide. On August 19th, 21st, and 22nd, greeters might be available to help students transport items to their rooms. Look for volunteers wearing greeters t-shirts. All your student belongings should be labeled with your name and your room assignment to help the greeters unload and help you move your belongings. As I mentioned, the 2-hour move-in period covers your arrival, unloading, and transfer of your belongings to your room. But after moving the belongings to your room during your appointment, you can take more time to get settled. Next slide. Our website will be updated during the summer with all the information you need to know about move-in. There will also be a move-in video posted before orientation begins, so we'll talk more about what to expect on move-in day, decorating your room, reporting maintenance issues, mail, dining, laundry, and all the things you're probably wondering about. Once you receive a housing assignment, you can check our website for information about the residence area where you're assigned, and that includes maps, sample floor plans and photos, furniture dimensions, and a list of what's nearby. In the meantime, our website has a what to bring FAQ that's really helpful for planning what to pack, and will let you know what prohibitive items you should not bring to the university. Next slide.
Thank you. After you moved in, you may start thinking ahead to going home and telling family and friends all about your UVA experience in person. Here are some of the really important dates you should know about. This year, Family Weekend will be held during the second weekend in November, with events for students and families taking place throughout the weekend. All residence hall remain open for fall reading days, also known as fall break, October 11th through the 14th, Thanksgiving recess, November 26th to the 30th, and spring break, February 28th to March 8th. During winter break, first year residence halls close at noon on Saturday, December 20th, and only the residential colleges and other upper class areas are open. Students who are enrolled in J-term classes are able to return to the residence halls in early January. At the end of the spring semester, students must move out by noon on Saturday, May 9th, 2026. Next slide. Early in the fall semester, we began advertising and recruiting students to participate within the dorm communities through association councils, like they're called ASCOs, and as representative for first year council. Elections for these roles are held in September, providing students with very early leadership opportunities. As classes start and Wahoo Welcome events have concluded, RAs are encouraged to form individual relationships with each of their residents and build a very strong community. They offer an array of events and activities, some occurring within their dorms and some elsewhere on grounds. Next slide. Recruitment for the Interfraternity Council and Intersorority Council organizations begins at the start of the spring semester. This is a focus for many first-year students as they return to grounds after winter break. Spring semester efforts by the resident staff remain focused on relationship and community building. After students move out in May, they will often remain in contact with each other, and many will choose to live with their roommates, suite mates, or floor mates in the year ahead. Next slide.
We understand that there's pressure that begins in September for first-year students to determine where they will live during their second year. We try to say, you have time, you have options. We really encourage students to take the time to make friends before deciding about their second year housing. We communicate frequently with students about how the application process works for on-grounds housing and provide them with resources as they navigate decisions about who to live with and where to live. Note that university housing is not guaranteed for second, third, or fourth year students. For students who apply to live on grounds and receive a housing assignment, our second year experience builds on the first year experience with program offerings that support academic development and connection to the university. Next slide. It was so interesting my first year. My roommate called her family and called home every day. And I think I called home maybe every 2 to 3 weeks. Encourage your students to make the most of their experience on ground, but also set times and dates that you would like to communicate with them. Determine the communication plan for how you want to check in with each other. Whether it's once a week on Sunday afternoons, if you'll text every day, or even if you'll call multiple times a day. Students will inevitably text or call their families when something is upsetting or wrong. This could be a roommate, class, the dining hall. Sometimes students just need to vent, and other times they are looking for recommended solutions. Please allow your students to express if they need your support, how they need your support, and how you can help. And remember that there's a lot of support and resources for them at the university. Really encourage your student to make the most of their experience on ground. We recommend that students talk to one another face to face and really encourage this type of interaction within the residence halls. There are lots of options for students at UVA. Students don't have to join a ton of organizations. Instead, they can get involved in 1 to 2 organizations that are really meaningful to them. When students are having conflict, we really encourage you to brainstorm questions that would help guide them to determine their own solutions. RAs are also always a great resource as well. We encourage students to reach out to their RA if they're experiencing any kind of difficulty. Next slide. We wanted you to hear some tips from former students about what they feel is important for you to know before arriving on grounds. Go ahead and click to play the video. No, I don't think we can hear it. Okay, we can continue on. We will try to put the link in for everybody to take a look. So we thought we would talk through some frequently asked questions that typically people would like to know about. And we can also answer questions that are in the Q&A. Jessica mentioned it before, but a question that we frequently get is it possible to indicate a preference for a specific residence area? How about first year suite versus first year hall style? Housing for first year students is required, guaranteed, and randomly assigned. We don't accept preferences for specific buildings or residence areas or for hall style or suite style housing. Transfer students may specify preferred housing areas on the housing application, but spaces are limited and not all areas are available. Brooke, did you want to take the next one?
Absolutely. So do prices vary between the different housing types or areas? First-year students pay the same rate regardless of where they live or whether they are assigned to a single or a double room. Upper class housing rates do vary and can be found on our website. I can do a couple in a row just to kind of help us. Another very common question is, do hall style and suite style buildings have kitchens, like with a stove and oven, etc.? And what are the rules for personal fridges and microwaves? All students in hall style and suite style buildings have access to a shared kitchen in their building or residence area. Residents can have one mini fridge or a slash microwave, if you will, per room. Students can rent one for the school year from the UVA bookstore. This is a question I'm seeing in the Q&A. I'm from far away. Can I ship items ahead for move-in? Items may be shipped to student rooms after August 1st. On-ground mail rooms have limited storage space, so please plan to have your packages arrive as close to move-in as possible. I hope that answers some of the questions in the Q&A for you. Is all UVA housing air conditioned? Yes, all on-ground housing is air conditioned. Do many first-year students opt to have a roommate assigned? Is there a questionnaire that helps guide roommate selection? So typically 30 to 40% of first-year students opt to have their roommate assigned instead of specifying a preferred roommate. If you do want to specify a preferred roommate, there are profile questions on the housing application that can help with the searching process. Otherwise, we will randomly assign a roommate. Are there singles available for first-year students, or are there triple rooms? Most of our first year rooms are double rooms. First year single rooms are typically reserved for students with a medical accommodation that's approved by UVA's Student Disability Access Center, or SDAC for short. The last time we needed to assign students to triple due to larger than expected enrollment was 2018. And what's the process if you just can't get along with your new roommate? So at the beginning of the year, students complete the roommate agreement, like I was talking about earlier, to facilitate discussion. If problems occur, roommates should talk with each other and try to resolve the issue. If they can't, they should first go to their RA and consult with them for assistance and mediation. If problems persist, then the students will be referred to a resident life professional staff member. Jessica, you want to take on?
Sure. Another question we're seeing is where are dining halls located? And there are dining halls located near all the first year housing areas. There are also additional eating locations located all around grounds. Another question we see is, what are the rules for guests or parents visiting the dorms? The students need to get consent from their roommates and suite mates or apartment mates to invite a guest into their room or any shared living space inside the dorms. Guests have to stay with their host student at all times, and no overnight guests can remain longer than 3 consecutive nights. Someone asked, are students in first year buildings required to move all their belongings out over winter break? No. Students cannot be in first year buildings during winter break, but they're welcome to leave their belongings in their rooms. Residential colleges, as I mentioned, and upper class housing areas stay open during winter break, so students and their belongings can remain in those areas. Someone asked in the Q&A, do transfer students' chances to get housing depend on when they submit their application? And the answer is no. It's not first come, first serve, as long as they submit their application by the June 1st deadline. Somebody asked about what percentage of second years live on grounds, and that's typically about 40%, and about 60% live in off-grounds housing. We have someone who said they finished the application, is wondering when they're going to hear back about their housing assignment. So if you're a first year student, you'll receive your housing assignment at the end of June, on June 27th. And if you're an incoming transfer student, we'll start making housing offers around the second week of June, and we'll continue doing that until all spaces are full, at which point we'll make a wait list and continue making offers up until move-in. Let's see. Someone asked how residential colleges are different from regular dorms. So in many ways they're similar. They both have RAs, they have programs and events, they have opportunities for leadership and community building. Some differences are that students from all 4 class years live in residential colleges, so it's not just first years. And residential colleges, as I mentioned, remain open over winter break. Students who live in residential colleges describe the experience as having great faculty-student interaction. They mention good food, they mention close-knit community, but these are also things that students can have in a regular dorm as well. Let's see. Someone asked if out-of-state transfer students get priority for housing, and the answer is no, we don't take your home residence into account when making housing offers. So all students have an equal opportunity for on-grounds housing. Someone asked about suggestions about how to find other housing or apartments if not provided housing by UVA. So on our website, we have an off-grounds property listing service where you can create an account, you can search for off-grounds properties and even roommates. Just keep in mind those properties are not owned or vetted or in any way endorsed by the university, but it's just a resource that we provide that can be helpful. Someone was asking about the housing questionnaire for roommate matching. So that's located within the housing application because for first year students, but it only becomes available after the June 1st deadline during that roommate preferencing phase, which is June 9th to 13th. So you'll get an email about that and you'll be able to see it at that point. We've got some people asking about appliances within the dorms. So if you check our website for the What to Bring FAQ that we mentioned earlier, it has some details about exactly which types of appliances are allowed and which aren't, about if you're bringing a microwave or fridge, what the sizes that are allowed are, all those kind of details. So I recommend you check our website at housing.virginia.edu and you can see all that information there. I see someone has asked about transfer students being guaranteed housing, and the answer is no. So no second, third, or fourth year students, including transfer students, are guaranteed housing. But we do encourage applications, and we hope that you'll be able to receive it. Let's see what else. Any type of medical accommodation that you might need, including if you need an extra refrigerator or things like that, those requests should all be submitted to our Student Disability Access Center, or SDAC. And that process, it's best if you can complete it before June 1st, because that allows them to make sure any accommodations that need to be made can be considered in the housing assignment process. Someone asked if we already have housing, do we still need to do the form for housing? So for first year students, you're required to live on grounds. So hopefully you don't think you already have housing. If you're a transfer student, if you already have housing, then there's nothing you need to do. You can live off grounds, and yeah, there's nothing you need to do. We have someone who asked about single rooms. So single rooms in first year areas, I think Shylin mentioned earlier, are available mainly to students who have a medical need for a single room. For transfer students, we do have some single rooms available, but it really depends on the number of people who apply and how many are remaining at this point. So it's hard to say whether they'd be available for any specific person applying. But you can list on the housing application, you can list that as a special request, and if some are available, then we'd be able to accommodate it. Someone asked about suggestions for how students would go about finding potential roommates. So the roommate preferencing phase includes a questionnaire on the website that has some basic questions about things like, what time do you wake up? What time do you go to sleep? Do you like to socialize in your room, or do you like it to be more of a quiet study area? Do you like to be really neat and tidy, or are you more of a messy person? Kind of those basic things. But students also use other methods outside of the housing application to search for roommates. They can use social media. There are all kinds of different ways. And so if you do find a preferred roommate that you connect with, even outside the housing application, you can request a specific person by putting their computing ID in on the roommate preferencing phase. We have some questions about mixed gender housing. Mixed gender housing is set up where you have a floor where one wing of the floor is male and one wing of the floor is designated female. Those floors typically have 2 bathrooms, one male and one female, and so students can use the one that they feel comfortable with. We also have some mixed gender housing in suites, and those would be, each suite would be male or female, but would be an RA group that includes both a male suite and a female suite. Mixed gender housing is an opt-in community, so it's spread throughout different first-year housing areas. But if you opt in on a housing application, then you could be considered for a floor or suite that's part of mixed gender housing. We have someone who asked about dorms that are set aside for student athletes, and the answer is no. We don't have specific dorms for athletes, so athletes would be assigned throughout the first-year housing areas. I will say, though, that the roommate pairs for athletes are determined by the coaches and sent to us. So athletes on their application will not see the roommate preferencing phase because we'll receive that information directly from the coach. We have another question about mixed gender housing, saying if I do not opt into mixed gender housing, does that mean the entire building would be only one gender? And the answer is no. Typically, buildings are one gender by floor. So you may have a male floor, a female floor, male floor, female floor, and so on in the building. Someone asked about residential colleges and whether it's competitive to be assigned to one. It really varies from year to year. It depends on the number of students who are interested. So I would encourage, if you're interested, I would encourage you to apply. Those residential colleges have a student selection committee who read applications and they let us know who's selected. But a lot of times, if you're interested and you can convey that in your application, they're very happy to have you. I have another question about the roommate preference period. So if someone connects over another outside of the housing application, like on social media, and they decide they want to live together, the roommate preferencing period is when they would go into the housing application and accept and request each other. Roommate preferences have to be mutual in order for them to be considered. And we don't guarantee that roommates will be placed together, but we do our best. And you'll receive detailed information about that in early June, kind of specifying how to do that and with a video that explains all the steps. Someone asked about advisors for students in engineering school. That's not really a housing and residence life area, so I'm not sure that I know the answer to that, but I think that there's a similar process in engineering where each student is assigned an advisor from within the engineering school. Someone asked if it's okay to make changes to their housing application. Yes, you can make any changes you like up until the June 1st deadline. So if you initially did not opt into a special community and now you're thinking you want to, or any of those kinds of changes, you're welcome to make as many changes as you like up until that deadline of 11:59 p.m. on June 1st. No question about roommates for transfer students. That process is a little bit different. Instead of a roommate preferencing phase, there's just a special request box on your housing application where you can request a specific roommate. And again, we can't necessarily guarantee that we can accommodate that, but if we are able to make you a housing offer and we're able to place you with that preferred roommate, we would certainly do so. We have a question, when will we hear about your room assignment and your preferred roommate? So for first year students, that'll be at the end of June. And for transfer students, that happens at the time that you receive your housing offer. So we make those starting in June and going throughout the summer. So I think that's all the questions we've received. Thank you so much for joining us today. And if you can go to the next slide. I think there's a last slide. If you still have questions, you can use our website, housing.virginia.edu. It's a great resource. There's a lot of information there. You'll find FAQs, you'll find information about all of our housing areas. You can see the housing contract there. Most of the things that you might need are probably there. You're also welcome to send questions to us by email at housing@virginia.edu. Our staff will respond to those as quickly as possible. And we encourage you to follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. It's a great way to stay up to date on the latest housing and residence life news.
Thank you, everyone, for joining our webinar. We will be posting, as we mentioned, this on our website, orientation@virginia.edu, in the coming days. We'll also link that video where the sound wasn't working, so don't worry, you'll get to see that as well. Like they mentioned, you can reach out to them at housing@virginia.edu with questions. And with that, we're going to end the webinar. Have a great day. Bye-bye.